Albert Mugo, MD of KenGen. Pleasure to be speaking to you today.
Thank you.
Let me give you some good news first. Your share price has surged this morning to 10.95.
10.95.
And I think it's got more to go.
Okay.
And when I first saw the results, I thought, is this an internet company or is this an energy company? Albert, there were very, very strong results. And why don't you just characterize where do you think, you had a 300% increase, profit after tax, EPS over 300%. I mean, these were big, big, bold numbers. Okay. What would you say is the background story to this?
Okay, Ali, the background to this is this. Our generation capacity as of June last year was at 1,300 roughly megawatts. We grew that by slightly over 300 to 1,611 megawatts by June this year. Now, a lot of that capacity came from geothermal. Yes. As you may know, we commissioned 280 megawatts of geothermal power plant. In addition to that, we added some 20 megawatts of wind. And combined, we were then able to also increase the amount of sales, energy that was sold to the off-taker, to the Kenya Power Lighting Company. So in June, as of June 2014, that year that ended in June 2014, our sales were at 6,000 gigawatt hours. By June this year, our sales had risen to 7,000 gigawatt hours. So even the sales increased.
And you made the point, actually, saying that actually you didn't get the entire capacity increase for the full year, for the full reporting year, right? I mean,
okay, yes. For that geothermal capacity that we brought in, on average, we got the capacity payments for about 7 to 8 months. So it was not for the full year. And yet, when you look at our results, the contribution from geothermal was actually quite tremendous.
It was tremendous, yes.
Most of that profit was driven by the sales from the geothermal, because it's the new capacity that came in and brought in a lot of income.
And when I look at your energy mix now, you got more geothermal, wind, small, but a massive year-on-year increase, so there's a lot to go there. Would you say that you're taking the company more into the green space? Because, it seems to me geothermal's green energy, tremendous resource. You're talking about being the seventh biggest geothermal?
Eighth in the world.
Eighth in the world.
But
and
we're going up.
What did you say? What's your target? You said third.
We want to be fourth or third.
Yes.
And we think we'll get there, because most of the other countries that are ahead of us are probably not developing geothermal as much. They developed their geothermal in the old days. Yes. But we have, in this country, we have potential for up to 10,000 megawatts of geothermal. We only have 600 megawatts, so we are barely...
And how big is your all-carrier potential?
All-carrier potential is 1,000 megawatts, about. We've determined that through what we call optimization study of the reservoir. And currently, we've only exploited about 500 megawatts. So again, that's only about half of what we can get from there. Yes. And that is why when you look at our plan going forward, in the next 4 to 5 years, we're actually planning to have the entire all-carrier exploited. As we discuss now, we have wells that we have drilled with a potential of close to 400 megawatts. Wow. So we just in the very point of starting to make projects to convert that steam to electricity.
So would you say you're in like some kind of sweet spot, Albert? Because you've delivered these great results.
Yes.
It's, as you're saying, it's built on a capacity increase.
Okay.
Looking forward now, how much more? You put out a plan, I think, of another 500 megawatts, was it?
Correct.
Before 2018?
Yeah, about 500 megawatts.
And would shareholders get the same kind of response that they're getting with this capacity increase that we've seen?
Yes, what will happen is that when we develop a power plant, we sign a power purchase agreement with the off-taker, in this case, Kenya Power Lighting Company. And it's a capacity payment in the sense that it's like we lease that plant to Kenya Power to use it as they wish. Yes. And as long as we make that plant available, we get our money. So the return to the shareholder is actually guaranteed.
Yeah.
And because this is green energy, this is plant that is reliable, that runs on a 24-hour basis, except when you need to do maintenance on it. It is very good for the country. You're not running out of it because you recycle the steam that you use for generating electricity from geothermal. It condenses into steam and eventually comes down into we reinject that water into the ground. So we're able to recycle that water and keep generating. So it's a green energy, it's reliable, and you can use it all the time. But the important thing for KenGen is the fact that it's a very reliable source of bringing us revenue.
Yes.
Yes.
Incredibly reliable. And you made an interesting point, just to finish off with geothermal, about looking at, I think, was it special industrial zones around that area where Olkaria is? Is that feasible? Is that something that's an easy win? Because, you know, if you look at industrialization the world over, and everyone's been telling me, Ali Khan, China's too expensive now, we got industry will move. A lot seems to be going to Ethiopia, Albert. Are you going to win us the business here?
Yes, we've actually seen a lot of interest in Olkaria. We've seen apparel industries expressing interest because, as you know, the apparel industry, in their processes, they use steam. And so we are telling them we can give you steam that is from the ground at a cost that's much cheaper than generating steam from oil, because a lot of them will use the oil to fire their boilers and get steam for their processes. But now we are saying we've got steam here that we've obtained from the ground, and we just need to construct a pipeline to your industry and give it to you. So what we are doing in Olkaria is we are doing a feasibility study for an industrial park. We expect this study to be completed in the first quarter of next year. And in this study, we are going to get a blueprint that shows how we can configure the industrial park, the easiest way so that it will be easy to construct the pipelines, it will be easy to construct the power lines. And this way, what we're expecting to see is the industries will find cheaper costs into their production, because the steam is cheap, the power will be cheaper and reliable, because a lot of industries experience power fluctuations because of the network, the grid, problems. So if you're just next to the power station, which is running well, they'll be able to get reliable power, and there's no doubt that we should be able to attract some of these industries.
So for you, is the future geothermal? Because I know you've got hydropower in there, which has come down dramatically. I mean, it has typically been unreliable at best, right? With the weather systems, the increased fluctuation in the weather systems. So you got geothermal, you had wind. I mean, everyone's talking about Lake Turkana, but tell me about your wind strategy.
Now, as you know, wind, let me say that we are proud to be the only ones at the moment who have got a wind plant connected to the grid.
Yes.
We have 25 megawatts of wind.
This is from Gong.
At Gong, very close to Nairobi.
And that's been there for a few years, hasn't it?
We started with 5.1 megawatts, which we commissioned in 2009. And we just added another 20 megawatts last year. So this is part of what we have shown as an increase in the capacity in the results we've just released. But going forward, we've carried out a visibility study, and we have identified a very good site in Meru. It has a potential of up to 400 megawatts of wind. But in the first phase, we want to develop about 70 to 80 megawatts. We've already talked to some financiers, and we've pledged up to 120 million euro. And what we're doing now is the final studies that are required, the environmental and social studies, and the movement of birds and all that. And so we think that we may be getting to financial close early next year. And once that is done, we will be developing the first phase of 80 megawatts in Meru for wind.
You know, I was sitting in the audience when you were releasing the results, and I saw JECA, is it JECA, the Japanese
yes.
Investment company? I think there was a French
the AFD,
AFD.
and the European Investment
Now,
Bank as well.
you know, we're living in much tougher times. If you look at this year compared to last year, raising capital, even for governments, we were just talking about treasury bills. And how is that challenge playing out for you? I mean, you seem to have very, very strong support. I looked at the lending rates, your blended lending rates. I think any business would be jealous of you, Albert, with those rates. What has been the secret to your success in terms of getting these big tickets? And you told me JICA was ready to finance one geothermal facility by itself. Just tell us a little bit about that, because that to me seemed to suppress the share price. People were worried, will Albert get billions of dollars to do this capacity increase, and you're delivering it? So can you tell us what's going on there?
And what we found out is that the financials, they're very interesting because they do want to identify with success.
Yes.
Our experience is that if you have a very good project and the financials see that you can implement this project successfully, they're actually ready to provide the money. Let me give an example. The 280 megawatt geothermal, which we commissioned last year. In 2009, when we were looking for financing, at that point in time, we already had over 50% of the steam that was required for that plant. And so we started approaching financiers. They saw the seriousness that KenGen and the government had in the fact that they'd already committed all the money for drilling the wells to provide the steam for the power plant. And to be honest, we got more money for that project than we needed. Wow. From the various development finance institutions. Now, so we've commissioned the 280 megawatts, a good record, because we
30 months.
We did it within 30 months.
Yes, that seems to me pretty impressive,
which
really.
is quite impressive.
Yes.
So when now we come to the next phase of our big project, for 140 megawatts for Carrier 5. By the way, we've already drilled the wells required to provide steam with that. So the financials say, okay, if these guys have already committed so much financing towards providing the fuel for this power plant, they must be serious. And that is why JICA then has come and committed the entire financing for the 140 megawatts power plant. And as I've already mentioned, the wind plant, we have two DFIs who have committed 120 million euro for that power plant. So I think the secret is that the financiers do want a success story. And where they see that when they commit their money, it will do what is the money is meant for, they're ready to provide the money, despite the hard times that we are going through. At least we found that they're ready to come and help.
That's a tremendous achievement, really, and I must commend you on that.
Thank you.
Albert, if I can just now jump a little bit more into the results we saw, you know, total installed capacity up 25.71%.
Yes.
This led to a revenue surge of 43.77%.
Yes.
These were very, very strong numbers in what has been a tough time. You even managed to raise the dividend.
Yes.
Do you want to just touch on the dividend story? Because surely you need quite a bit of capital, Albert. So are you able to, when I looked at the chart, the dividend chart, it's been a pretty strong story. You guys have raised the dividend. So how does that all play out?
The point, Ali, is this. We appreciate that the shareholders have put an investment into KenGen. And obviously they expect some return. So it is not possible to keep telling the shareholders that you wait, we will not give you anything because we are putting money to develop the next projects. So we then looked at how the company has performed, and we said, because of that good performance and the profits have increased at a good rate.
At a more than good rate,
yes.
Exponential rate.
Let's share a bit of this with the shareholders, even as we retain some of that money to contribute to the equity that is required, because when we're doing the future projects, we need some equity, even as we get the debt. We have to have a capital structure of 70 debt, 30% equity.
Yes.
So it is in that spirit that we are returning part of what we have made as profit to the shareholders, while at the same time retaining some of that money to invest in the future project. So we are not giving them everything, and we will explain to the shareholders that we need some of this money so that we can grow the company. But on the other hand, we also need to share something with them. And so that's why we've maintained, last year the dividend was 40 cents. Now the proposal to the shareholders and AGM will be for 65 cents.
Which is more than a 50% increase.
Yes,
that's
more than
pretty
50%.
dramatic. I think that's even more than Safaricom. So, Albert, if we, you touched on, you said, we're going to come to the market with I assume, a rights issue. Obviously, you said you'd appointed transaction advisors.
Yes.
I'm sure after these results, this will be a tremendous success. People will see it as a growth opportunity. What do you want to tell your shareholders? Because some of them have held on those shares, Albert, for a long time. They've been very loyal. And obviously, I think the numbers will tell them, go and invest now, because that investment is about to start paying off. Yeah. But is there a message you want to send to these?
What we want to tell the shareholders is, it's almost 2 years ago since the shareholders gave us the approval to go for a rights issue. But it's taken a bit of time.
Yes, why did it take so long?
The KenGen is 70% owned by government, at 30% then on shares traded on the securities exchange. So for a rights issue to succeed, it was important for us then to be able to talk to government, just to understand the appetite and the interests to take its rights if we do a rights issue.
Are they going to take that right?
So we had discussions with government, and that took a bit of time. But finally, sometimes in March this year, government made a commitment that yes, go for a rights issue, we'll take the rights. That is why it has taken time. And so what we are saying to the shareholders is, you've seen how the company is growing. We need some more equity for us to raise money for the projects that we want to do. So bring in some money, it's a cash call, so that we can finance these projects. And because you can see what new projects are doing in terms of the revenue and also the profitability of the company, yes, you can't go wrong. You can only get better, yes, in terms of the way forward.
I think that's the message that's going to come out clearly.
Right.
Albert, these were brilliant results, really, and I really commend you, because I think we've met many years ago, and I've seen the journey from the first time that plant was opened in Old Carrier. I just want to ask a little bit about you, Albert. Here you are at the apex of KenGen. Cannot be a more exciting time, I would have thought. I looked through your resume, you're an engineer, you've been in the energy sector for all this period of time. You seem to be steeped in this business, but tell us what makes you tick.
Well, you're quite right. I trained as an engineer, but over time I've actually moved away from engineering and yes, gotten into management. And I think what's most exciting for me is to be able to see the contribution that I can make and my team at KenGen that we can make towards the development of this nation. We've seen the infrastructure projects that are going on in the country. We've had the pronouncements of government and what the economy is expected, how the economy is expected to grow. And the question that I keep asking myself is there any role that I can play in, making a difference in this big story about making Kenya a middle income country? And so every time my alarm rings at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Is that what time you get up?
Yes.
What time do you get to your desk?
I'm usually in the office by about 6:15, 6:30 latest. So that keeps me excited. Yes. And so to see, for example, that we can bring in a capacity in geothermal, which has an effect of bringing down the generation from thermal, which is expensive, and that reflects directly to what the consumers of electricity are paying. I think that excites me a lot, and so to be involved in projects. And again, when you go to a place and there was nothing, and after you get started on a project and you develop it, you see something nice and you think back, it was just a bush, and now there's a big project that's contributing to the nation economy. That keeps me going, I want to do more of those projects.
Albert, congratulations.
Thank
These
you.
were really great results.
Thank you.
And we really wish you, because I think what you were describing there was, it's about KenGen, but it's also about the national interest. And I liked what you said about that, because I think if we have people like you who are passionate, that's where the country moves forward. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Congratulations on these outstanding results. And to all the shareholders out there, you know, you've held these shares. This is the opportunity to participate in this moment where I see a big acceleration in the model. So congratulations, Albert.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Asante sana.
Asante sana.
Okay.